What's good, my friend? We have an event. We have the Joker, aka Hex, on the right, Laseer on the left. Is it right and left? It should be right and left for you guys too. We have a summoning event. We have a lot of people getting lucky pulling these champions, some getting unlucky, unfortunately. It is what it is. We have to deal with the hand we're dealt, of course. So we have a day and 2 hours left of this event here. Who is better, Laseer or Hex? The answer is, there is no answer. It's going to depend 100% on your goals on this game, where you want to improve, what you already have on your account to heroes. It's going to make a huge impact. So enough. I see it all the time. This champion's better, period, or this champion's better, period. No, every account's different in this game. Some people are going to have champions that do what Hex does, if not better. Some people are going to have champions that has the same role as Laseer and excels just as well. So we're here to find out what's going to be the best option for you, and if you do pull them, how do you gear them, what sets to put on them, all of that good stuff. So let's dive right into it. Alright guys, so in my summons, I was lucky enough to get an A1 Laseer and an A2 Hex. Now I don't stream or show my pulls. I know it's fun to watch, I do, but I'm not a big fan of promoting gambling in any way. I usually tend to tell people, if you gamble, you will lose. Disclaimer if I do any type of summon video, but I'm sure there are plenty of other people to watch for your dopamine fix. But we have Hex, like I said, A2. I do have him fully skilled, and I do not have Laseer fully skilled. I tried to get some into the ultimate just to see what his potential is. I haven't used Laseer at all. That's going to be my disclaimer here. And as far as how I geared him, typical mage, right? If you have seen my video, if not, you should probably check it out. How to gear every class in the game. When I talked about mages, you stack attack, then attack speed, as long as nothing in their kit says does not scale with attack speed. This is not one of those champions, so it has attack speed. I'm assuming it's going to be good. Couldn't get the crit rate to 100% because I didn't want to, I probably should have put him in really strong gear, but I didn't for this video. It is what it is. Crit damage went a little bit higher because I don't have ageless wrath on this hero. I am using a crit damage ring. Ideally, you run triple attack here because, again, attack on mages is king. And his base attack isn't the worst. Some mages have much lower base. So I'm comfortable and okay with his stats here. As far as the artifact, I am using a tier of Starlight. And for Hex, Nether Messenger, of course, and his gear, Soulbond Arcana, because mine is not A3. What does his Awakening 3 do? It extends the duration of his ultimate. Now, I don't have an A3 to test this, but I would assume Ageless Wrath will be slightly competitive. We are still testing it internally within our clan to see what has the best results, but for the most part, people are going to have stronger, especially if you're endgame, Soulbond Arcana gear, because that's gear raid 3 is the best gear raid, like by a mile. But some people do have strong Ageless Wrath sets, so it's going to be interesting to compare the two and see just how strong crit damage is compared to a very slow ramp up of 10% permanent damage increase here. So as far as his stats go, we have 15,000 attack, 383 attack speed, which may be too much. That's another thing I really do want to test because it's going to cut his interval in half and give him 100 attack speed on top of that. That's a lot. Then we have 338 crit damage. Not that happy with the crit damage, but we are going to live with it. So first, to be honest, I want to test Laseer. Where am I going to test him? Where pretty much everyone that's ever asked about Laseer was recommended to use him, Gear Raid 1. Why Gear Raid 1? He is an anti-heal in his kit, and that is very good. And I have no energy or stamina, so I'm going to have to use one of these. Okay. Let's go ahead to fight. We do have Morrigan, so we're getting the bonus here. Let's take Ajax out. Let's use Laseer. I do not have Zealous, so the first thing I want to look at is how strong is this guy's anti-heal. I progressed all the way to stage 21 with Zealous and his artifact. Zealous's manuscript, we can just take a look at it really quickly since we're here. And it reduces healings during the ultimate by 45%. What does Laseer do? That's a great question. Let's go to his skills. Inflicts anti-healing on them for 10 seconds, unable to recover HP, period. So this is, of course, stronger than Zealous if you were lucky enough to get him. So, I mean, let's see it in the flesh here. Now, he does have a slow in his kit, and I'm fairly certain he has to be right on the border here because he's only going to slow champions who are, I think, within 1 tile of his basic hitbox. Let's just throw him right here, and then we will use, we're not going to place Silas down. We will do this. Okay, we didn't get the invigoration proc, so his damage is going to be a little bit lower here. So we're kind of waiting for this heal. Like, I really want to see this, right? Yeah, look at that. I mean, there is still some healing, but there's only 2 mobs getting healed. I wonder why that is. Alright, let me go ahead and do this. Sacrifice her. We get to rinse and repeat. Let's see if the same healing thing happens. Okay, so it's a little bit of a delayed effect here. But, man, this is... If I had this when I was progressing, it would be so insane. Like, I can't even stress how insane this is to watch. Because I would fight with the heals over and over again, losing momentum constantly, and it was really just a bad time. Let's use one more time here. Execute as much as we can here. I mean, we are taking a ton of damage, but we're on stage 21. What can we expect here? So I am curious to see what his damage is going to look like in the grand scheme of things. Okay, they're healing a bit too much for my liking at the moment, so let's just kind of get the... I shouldn't have execute there, to be honest. So the damage looks okay, like nothing crazy just yet here. It's taking me a while to... I'm actually curious if I don't have all of the proper gear on these guys. I do have a power of dominance, but I am taking on quite a bit of damage. So we're going to block the heal. Looks like there's a slight delay too, right? So like a couple heals are getting off. Oh wow, I actually lost. Interesting. Let me quit really quick on this. A quick damage check. Again, I probably should have done this and made sure I got the invigoration buff on someone like the... Hold on a minute. Hold on a minute. You're telling me Laseer is out damaging? That means I don't have gear on Virna. Ain't no way she's doing that low of damage. So I can guarantee you with 100% certainty that my Virna is wearing Tide gear still. I know a bunch of people asked me about it in the last video. Like, why is your Virna geared that way? There we go. She is not currently geared. She is geared though, so maybe I should be dropping her at some point. She has a ton of attack as well. She has way too much crit rate. So let me just swap a few things around here. 17, it's going to go down a bit too much for my liking. No crit rate there. What about you? 21%, gaining a little too much crit damage. You know, let's just go for it. 91%, I can live with that. So we'll forget we even... Virna exists, I guess. We'll just forget she exists. We will use Morrigan and Laseer. Man, I can't believe he was the top damage dealer. Even though I didn't have, I mean, I get it. I did not have the stats I needed to, but that's still quite surprising, to me at least. Maybe not to people watching here. So, I mean, so far, so good. The test has been good. So let's just replicate the exact same thing with a few champion tweaks here. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take Razak out. We're going to put Ajax in. Let's give Ajax this bonus instead. All of this stuff is good. Let's use... You know what? I want to boost Dolores. We're going to pop in Pyros. Where are you, Pyros? There you are. We got this bonus going on. All of this is well and done. We're not going to use Vierna because she's not geared. So we have one more free slot here. And we're not going to use anyone. I get it's stage 21, but we'll just see how this goes. So I'm actually going to place Laseer first here, because I was quite happily surprised by his damage. Do that, then we're going to slide in Morrigan. I'll go ahead and, of course, pop a healer, because we have to. Let's pop a healer. And we'll use the first ult now. Why not, right? And we are going to drop Ajax here, and we'll cancel the healing. I am curious about the timing on this. So let me pop this early this time. Okay, so 1 tick. So there is a delay. So if you're going to use it, I guess the first thing we figured out is there is a slight delay that you have to account for when using Laseer if you're trying to block the heal. So his... we did not get this off in time. I'm just going to let her sit there. Let's go ahead and pop Ajax. Get some burst damage out. And what we're pretty much doing at this point is we are waiting for the scary people to walk in, because they're... Okay, we're going to pop Laseer. Laseer got to go. Let's just pop this. Oh, why not? Ajax is going to go next. Now we will recall Laseer again. Didn't even need to. Now I'm really excited to see just how much damage this guy's going to do in this run, because he has Invigoration now. We have a geared Morrigan. We have a geared Ajax, so only time will tell. I think his ult's going to be just short. Did I get it in time? Yes, it looks like everything's dead here. Now for the hard part. I mean, look at the difference in the health. Granted, I failed with no gear, but I do have Power of Dominance here. So the stats aren't going to be, I guess, 100% true as far as a representation of what they're capable of, but once these guys walk in, let's make sure Laseer does not die. Let's go ahead and pop everything. We'll use Laseer because I'm going to do this, so we can hopefully recast. The heal's going to get off anyways. Oh well, it's close. We'll just stop the healing as quickly as we can. Man, it's actually wild seeing all of these numbers. I am not going to lie. Kill as much as we can. As soon as... We're not going to be able to kill Elowin until Silas gets his turn right here. Now Elowin is going to be DED, dead. Let's stop the healing. I might have used that too early. So the healing stop does work on the boss. Very, very good to know. A little bit of this, a little bit of this. Let's see if we can get one more ult out of Laseer to stop the healing for good. Until ultimately Elowin dies. Perfect. Now we just have to finish off these final two. And it's going to be GG. Okay. Moment of truth time. Let's see the final damage recorded here for Ajax, Morrigan, Laseer on stage 21 with Power of Dominance. Yes, I get it. You're not going to save that battle here. Is this good? Attack bonus, crit rate, crit damage. The best trio you can get on a chest. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Again, this is kind of shocking. I was not expecting this much damage out of this guy. I understand that I have strong gear, but it's not realistic to test with lower gear because you don't really know how well champions scale, which is incredibly important. I cannot stress this enough. I've seen people say, I saw this guy in a GR19, any stage, doesn't matter, 1, 2, or 3, use this epic with under average gear because they allocated certain stats, and they tried using that same hero in stage 20 with better gear and they fell off. And they were saying this makes no sense. Why is this hero not doing well in 20 with much better gear? It's because scaling works crazy in this game. The jump from 19 to 20 is very large. 20 to 21 is also very, very large. And stats aren't always the answer to overcompensate for that. Sometimes you need CC. You need way more stats than you think you need. Like, quality-wise, going from blue to purple isn't going to cut it. It's really not. You have to go from, like, blue gear to high purple of the red special or red yellow sets, like Aegis Wrath, Soulbond Arcana. That's the jump you need to go from 19, 20, 20 to 21. It's a pretty big gear check, so seeing this and comparing it with pretty decent overall gear, Laseer's a really good hero. Not that anyone was disputing that before, but I wish I had Laseer. It would have saved me a lot of time as far as how long it took me to complete Gear Raid 121, which is the final one that I completed. In my opinion, this is the hardest raid in the game. Of all the Gear Raids, 121 takes the cake here. Maybe other endgame players would disagree with what I'm saying, but for me at least, and what I've seen, I just have to call it how it is. Now, Gear Raid 3, I don't know why it's giving me the Gear Raid 1 roster. That's definitely not what we're going to do. So we're going to do a little bit of this. We are going to use Hex now and see how good the Hex train is. We use Razak, we use Nyx, and that's a lot of piercers. I did use Araka before. Now I don't remember who my last slot is supposed to be. I'm assuming it's going to be a Lord. Oh, I'm missing like the most important. Okay, we can get rid of this one. And you know what? Silas is who we're going to try to replace this with, because I saw a lot of people saying Hex replaces Silas in gear rate 3. We're going to see just how true that is. I'm skeptical. I don't think anyone can touch Silas. Maybe they meant a perfectly geared Hex can replace a Silas with no Vierna, bond bonus, and bad gear. Perhaps that's what they meant. I am not a mind reader though. Tauriel is the champion I was missing. Let's go ahead and use Pyros again for that aura. And I mean, we can just use Olog to be safe here. And if you don't know why I'm using Olog, you're about to find out. I think this is a pretty common strategy. I'm not going to make it sound like I'm inventing anything nuts with using Olog here. But basically, Olog's going to tank Zilitu when possible. All right, he's in. His damage is looking pretty bad so far, I'm not gonna lie. Okay, this is not... Can confirm, Hex is not a Silas. I mean, I guess if you like RNG... Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, this is not looking good, I'm not gonna lie. This is really not looking good. Let's do this, do this. Pretty sure this side's going to get through, but what are we going to do? I mean, this is with power of dominance too, right? Yeah, Hex still has not... I'm not sure who said this, but I'm starting to question their motives heavily right now. Yeah, everything... I dropped everything late here. Okay, so Hex is not the answer for Gear Rate 3. Shout out to the whoever said this is going to be a good idea. It's not. Not comparable to Silas at all. Maybe for the right side if you want to gamble with his cards. And I didn't really go over his skill kit. We can talk about that a little bit now because this is kind of a Hex guide / Laseer guide because we're getting into a ton of things here. But as we can see, similar to Silas, similar to Idril, who I always call Tauriel since the name changed, most of his damage, if not all of it, comes from the ultimate. So how this works is he goes into this, gains attack speed, reduces attack interval, replaces all cards with the Joker, chance for burning, that's great. If you get the Awakening 1, he really pops off. The Fool card is insane. For the guild boss, it's hitting the guild boss for like 2 million damage. Mine's hitting for like 2.1, 2.2. So this is an insanely hard hitting card here. It's kind of unfortunate that it's tied to the A1 because you have to get luck and get 2 of him to get it. I wish it was baseline, but that would have made him probably too strong. But the other cards he can pull are Temperance, those 3 cards, 140 and a slow, Death, 500%, Burning, and then Strength. This is really strong. 30% increased attack, and then attack speed by 70 for 25 seconds. So if you proc this card, the Strength card, before his ultimate, it's going to last for 25 seconds of the 35-second duration, which is crazy. And it's really 30 seconds if you don't have him skilled. And I know skills are kind of hard to get as far as the legendary crystals go. So the amount of variance you're going to see from a Hex is very high. Because if you don't have the A1, it's going to be a bit lower, but the fact that you can have random cards, one dealing 140 and a slow, but one dealing 500% and burning, there's an obvious power difference between Temperance and Death. So if you just keep proccing Death and throwing those, right, pretty self-explanatory. And if you keep proccing Strength in succession of each other pretty much, so you have this crazy uptime of 30, I mean 30% attack is a lot. I don't have to say that to anyone, that's a lot of attack here. And then of course deals extra damage to airborne units. Maybe they're not considering Zilitu an airborne unit, and I kind of have that all wrong here. It's possible. I'm not a mind reader, I'm not sure what they intended when they said he was going to be good. All right, we'll do a summons here. I'm gonna pull one and maybe I'll get Hex. Who am I kidding? Yeah, it's gonna be not even a rare. Typical. This is what typical summoning looks like. So then we go to Guild Boss. Now you'll see the video that I have made on the world record for Guild Boss, 78,000 bloods, and it's gonna go up. If you're interested, you can check it out. Was made possible by Hex. The addition of Hex skyrocket everyone's damage. As we can see, all of my guild mates are in the top 5 here. Then it becomes other guilds, but 121 million damage. And I've seen up to 140 million damage. So when we're talking about variants of Hex, this is it. So I didn't really show you where Hex is going to shine and not shine. The guild boss is pretty self-explanatory, where he's really good here. As far as where else, the campaign. That I know for a fact he's going to be good in, because Hex is unique in the sense where he's a marksman that deals magic damage, which is incredibly strong. As we can see, magic attack deals 120% magic damage to one enemy, prioritizes airborne units here. So, I mean, Silas, physical damage. Most of the other champions that are marksmen as well, physical damage, but he magic. So where is this going to be strong? You guessed it, the new wing of the campaign. There are lots of enemies. Let me just click on, I don't know if the final stage, I think this normal stage is going to have a breakdown. So magic res low, magic res high, magic res high, magic res low. Okay, so 3 of the 5 enemies on the third to last, and I guess the only non-boss stage out of the last ones, are very vulnerable to magic damage. Let's take a look at the second to last one. Magic res medium, magic res low, magic res medium, magic res low, medium. So he's going to be, I mean, it really depends what unit you're going to struggle with, right? And then finally we get to this boss one, high magic res, high magic res, high magic res, low magic res, and then decently high magic res. So 917, probably not where you want to use this guy. I'm going to be honest with you. Maybe if you have a magic penetration champion like Ajax. I mean, not that many people have Ajax, but the main point is the non-boss stages, they usually have a higher ratio of low magic res, like this stage, 912. Very low magic resistance. Then we go to 911. I guess only one of them. 910. This is something you should pretty much always do, because why not? Just click on the info button and just check out what the stats are of the monsters, or I guess attributes of the monster are as they describe them. Because looking at this is going to determine what kind of unit is good and what type of unit is not good. If they have no defense, bring a physical champion. If they have no magic res, bring a magic damage dealing champion, because they're going to do a ton. That's where you see that word strong above the damage that you're applying to the unit here. These are important things to pick up and to keep in mind for any stage of the campaign. So the question then becomes, what's good for your account? That's what really matters in the end here. If you have a Zealous and you have a leveled up artifact of Zealous's manuscript, I do still think Laseer is going to be strong for you, because even with Zealous, the damage check was high. What I just tested in front of me, between the impressive damage Laseer does and the fact that he negates all healing for Gear Raid 1, is way too hard to overlook. So he is a very strong AoE mage, can confirm that his AoE damage is good. And if you need the anti-heal, you have it as well. So it's a multi-purpose thing. If you're a newer player, I think Laseer is going to be, I mean, in my opinion, on my free-to-play, I didn't pull either of the 2 champions, but if I did, I would want Laseer. I would not want Hex, because I'm not looking for guild boss damage. There are tons of champions, and I mean, I can kind of show you that. Unless you're pushing like the top limits of guild boss, I don't see a world where Hex is going to be greater than Laseer for most accounts. AoE is the most sought after type of champion, specifically AoE mages for most early to mid game players. AoE marksmen are okay, but most mobs that you need to AoE down in the early to mid game are weak to magic, not to physical damage. So you'll notice that trend pretty quickly, and if they are vulnerable to physical damage, the fighters in this game, I don't think I have to explain this to anybody, are OP. Zilitu, Arrogance, Demos, I mean, the list goes on. I don't have to name all of them, but we know how strong the fighters are in this game. Salazar, I mean, So that's where you can kind of compensate with that. And the fact that you can buy, if you choose to, not that I'm promoting it, but you can buy Eona for $5 right here. Not A5, obviously, but just the baseline version of her. Her paired with someone like a Laseer, based on what I remember from my progression and what I'm currently doing in my free to play, you're going to be set for AoE. Just between her and Laseer, and then once you get to gear rate 1 and you start facing Elowen for the first time, you're all taken care of for the healing. Now, if we swap back to Hex, I can definitely think of multiple stages in the campaign. I mean, there's a lot, but multiple stages where he's going to shine. The only issue is the variance in which he draws his cards, and he's going to be decently hard to gear. I noticed direct power spikes when testing. I've tested him with 80% crit rate to see what that did, and the variance went to the moon. Cannot stress this enough. This is one of the champions that I would recommend not messing around with lower percent crit rate, kind of like I do with arrogance 96. The variance isn't that high because he has high attack speed, he's attacking very fast, and for some reason he just doesn't make a huge impact. With Hex, it's way too much of an added variance level, which means he's going to be much weaker in the early game with such a high variance in the end game. So that is that. So that's my opinion on this. Again, if you have really good, like if you have a Vierna, you're not going to need Laseer unless you need anti-healing. It's that simple. If you have a Silas, you're not going to need a Hex for anything unless you have a Silas and you want to use Hex for guild boss. So that's kind of the comparison I want to make. I know people were kind of blowing up how Hex is this insane giga hero that's good everywhere. It's just not the case. So that's my opinion on the matter. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Hopefully your polls went well or are going to go well if you plan to poll tomorrow, as we have a day left here. As always, if you guys enjoy this content, smash that like button, subscribe with the notification bell, and I will see you all in the next upload.